No. Okay. Let's see. All right, my roll call sheet won't open. Let's see if I
Okay.
can I do this from memory.
Well, can you see who's on? I mean, you can pretty much tell who the commissioners are, I think. There's a couple of numbers that aren't identified, but.
I can. So let's see. So we've got Jane Billman, we've got Dustin Allred, we've got Chen Chi Yu, we've got Lou Hopkins, we have Tyler Fitch. I think Jonah, are you one of the numbers?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then Andrew, are you there? Andrew might not, he had to be out of town, so he might not be here. Okay.
All right, we'll take that as a not present.
Okay.
All right, well, we do have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay. The approval of minutes of the previous meeting, the March 19th, 2020 Plan Commission regular meeting. Any motions to approve the minutes? Do it.
I move that we approve the minute.
Moved by Ms. Yu. Second?
I second.
Don't be shy.
I
Second by Ms. Billman. Are there any changes to the minutes? Then by voice vote, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Weak. All those opposed? The minutes are approved. We don't have any communications, I don't think. I had seen that the request for public comments to be submitted. I don't know if we received any of those. I haven't seen them if we did.
We did have a couple of communications. I think Lily sent those out just earlier today. One was a letter from Rita Black at the Champaign County Regional Planning Commission. And that was a letter in support of the revised recommendations, revised staff recommendations that Lily will be talking about during the case. The other was from Cynthia Hoyle of Hoyle Consulting, and her letter was also in support of the revised recommendations.
Great. Thank you. Sorry I missed those. We don't have any continued public hearings. We don't have any old business. We do have two new public hearings that are related. First one is Plan Case 2398M20, a request by OSF Healthcare to rezone 2.2 acres in the B1 Neighborhood Business District to the B3 General Business. This is located at 205 North High Cross Road in Urbana. Plan Case 2399SU20, a request by OSF Healthcare for a special use permit to build a medical clinic in the B3 General Business Zoning District located at 205 North High Cross Road in Urbana. And I just remind everybody that there are two, there's a revised recommendation on the second of those, I believe, the special use permit application. So without further ado, let me introduce Lily Wilcock, who is going to walk us through the staff memo.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Tyler. I'm going to share my screen really fast for a presentation. So as the chairperson, Tyler Fitch, has mentioned, we've got two cases. They're very related, so they're going to be presented together. 2398-M-20 is a zoning map amendment to go from B1 neighborhood business to be rezone the property to B3 general business. 2399 is special use permit. That's to establish a medical office in a B3 general business zoning district. As you can probably imagine, a zoning map amendment can be recommended approval for and approved by City Council without a special use permit. The two are interrelated. Two are separate from each other. but the two go hand in hand with this case. And so we'll be talking about the zoning map amendment and the special use permit and as the site together. And then as far as voting on a recommendation to approve or deny with or without conditions will be something that will be separate. And also, as mentioned earlier too, there were 2 letters of that had come in today from earlier today's revised staff recommendations. I know I sent that email to plan commissioners yesterday, but I don't think it was posted on the website until this morning. So you can, hopefully some of you have seen the memo, but I'm going to go through everything in detail tonight. Make sure that everybody knows what the case is and the revised recommendation is. So I've got a staff report and then a revised staff recommendation. OSF Healthcare requests the rezoning from B1 neighborhood business to B3 general business at 205 North High Cross Road. Additionally, OSF Healthcare requests a special use permit to build a medical office on the property. The property has never been developed, and OSF Healthcare would like to build a medical office to serve Urbana and the surrounding area. Medical offices are only allowed in B3 general business zoning district with a special use permit. For these requests, the Plan Commission must review these applications and for the rezoning and special use permit criteria and make recommendations on each request to City Council. Staff recommends approval for both of these requests. The site is approximately 632,000 square feet or 2.2 acres. It is located at the northwest corner of High Cross Road and University Avenue. The proposed access drive will be off High Cross Road and on the northern portion of the property. The property is currently vacant. You can see that the zoning is B1, neighborhood business, and that the future land use designation, should show up on the screen, is community business. That's from the 2005 comprehensive plan. As you can see, I've got a couple of more words on the presentation now that we're switching to this all online presentation. But this really briefly, some of the discussion points is that OSF operates a large area hospital in West Urbana. Additionally, OSF operates urgent care facilities in the area for unscheduled healthcare needs. The proposed medical office is actually slightly different. It will have specialty providers and scheduled appointments, much like the offices at the main hospital. The applicant cites a demand for healthcare providers to be more scattered and closer to neighborhoods and large shopping centers as a reason for choosing this location for a new medical office. OSF anticipates a maximum staff of 20 employees with 10 to 15 employees working at any given time. There is one anticipated supply delivery a week and a weekly trash, recycling, and medical waste pickup for the location. The proposed operating hours will at least start at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And there's currently a 6-foot opaque wall between this site and the residences nearby. A little bit to discuss the revised recommendation. Currently, this site will have built a sidewalk to connect from the Aldi's portion of the sidewalk to the northern portion that has a sidewalk. This sidewalk is disconnected from the intersection. So the intersection has been difficult for those using transit to get to either Walmart or Aldi or the Kickapoo Rail Trail. After the Kickapoo Rail Trail opened in 2017, it quickly became apparent that better access was needed to get to the trail from Behringer Commons and to get to the Aldi grocery store from the trail in neighborhoods south of University Avenue. The ideal place for the north-south crossing of University Avenue is at a stoplight at High Cross Road. However, there is a drainage ditch that runs along University Avenue and High Cross Road that creates a barrier to creating connection to the existing sidewalk on the Aldi property. To bridge this gap, a box culvert would need to be built over the ditch with a path built on top of the culvert running from the University Avenue, High Cross Road intersection to the sidewalk. OSF's plans includes a sidewalk that will connect the existing sidewalks on the north and south of the property. However, that sidewalk, which is required, will not connect to the intersection because of the drainage ditch. The additional culvert and sidewalk would be necessary to connect the site to the Kickapoo Rail Trail and to connect people walking, biking, and taking transit to the proposed OSF medical office, Aldi, Walmart, and the corners of this intersection. Champaign County Community Health Needs Assessment 2017-2019 is a plan that to address the county's largest public health needs and to identify broad strategies to improve key community health indicators. The assessment identifies obesity reduction as one of the 3 priorities for a healthy Champaign and Urbana, and access to healthy food and encouraging healthy lifestyles are 2 of the plan's goals to reduce obesity. Creating a link between University Avenue, High Cross Road intersection would improve access to both Aldi and Walmart and to the Kickapoo Rail Trail. People from any direction could then walk, bike, or take the bus to Aldi, Walmart, and the proposed OSF clinic and do it safely. The construction for this proposed culvert and sidewalk will not happen at the same time as the construction of the medical office. This is a future project, and the funds for the recommendation, the condition for the special use permit is something that would only be called upon if the city can provide support and staff to make this project happen. The construction of the proposed culvert is going to be applied for an Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, which is under the Illinois Department of Transportation, its grant. And that application deadline isn't anticipated to be until early fall. The proposed condition will exist for the life of the special use permit or until the medical clinic use is retired. And OSF is currently considering this condition. So I'm going to read the rezoning criteria, see if the zoning ordinance lays out 8 criteria to evaluate rezonings. The first criteria is the existing land uses and zoning of nearby property. The proposed rezoning to B3 general business is compatible with land uses of the immediate area. The surrounding area has 2 grocery stores, postal office, and residential uses. The surrounding residences have either a road or a 6-foot wall separating them from the site. The proposed rezoning is therefore appropriate for the area. The second criteria, the extent to which property values are diminished by the restrictions of the ordinance. It is unlikely that the proposed rezoning will have any effect on neighboring property values. The rezoning accompanies a request for a special use permit for a medical office, which may have a positive impact on surrounding property values versus the land remaining vacant. 3, the extent to which the ordinance promotes health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the public. The proposed rezoning should not affect health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the public, as the rezoning supports the goals and objectives of the 2005 Comprehensive Plan. 4, the relative gain to the public as compared to the hardship imposed on the individual property owner. The public would see no gain to the property if it remains B1 neighborhood business and continues to be vacant. With a rezoning to B3, more uses would be permitted, which could benefit or be a drawback to the public depending on the use. However, under B1 zoning, a medical office is not allowed in any circumstance, so the possibility of the public gaining access to nearby healthcare is limited by zoning. The property owner will see a significant increase in permitted uses, but if the applicant is granted a special use permit, the proposed use and site plan would be tied to this property, which should mitigate any potential for undesirable uses of the site for the foreseeable future. The 5th criteria is the suitability of the subject property for the zone purposes. The property is suited for general business uses. It is located at the corner of High Cross Road and University Avenue, which is one of the higher traffic areas in Urbana. As the site is 2.2 acres, it can accommodate a small building and ample parking. The proposed site subdivided and planned to be used for a business use by the developer and is identified as community business in the 2005 Comprehensive Plan. A medical office is a business use which can serve the community, but is not permitted in B1 neighborhood business zoning district. The sixth criteria, length of time the property has been vacant as zoned, considered in the context of land development in the area in the vicinity of the subject property. Property has been vacant under its current zoning for since before the original annexation agreement and was approved in 1991. The property has been zoned B1 since it has come into the city. The seventh criteria, the community's need for more of the proposed use. The applicant cites this location will provide better access to healthcare, and the location is ideal to serve the needs of residents on the east side of Urbana and for those living in surrounding communities and commute to Urbana for work. The eighth criteria, the care with which the community has planned its land use development. In the 2005 comprehensive plan, the property was identified as community business as its future land use designation. The proposed rezoning is to B3 General Business Zoning District would be consistent with this designation. And I'm going to quickly go through the three criteria that the zoning ordinance lays out for special use permits. The first criteria is that the proposed use is conducive to the public's convenience at that location. The property is near the intersection of two major roads and is less than 2 miles from I-74 highway interchange. The proposed access drive will be far from the University and High Cross Road intersection as possible to minimize potential car crashes. It is also near 2 transit stops and is within 600 feet of the Kickapoo Rail Trail. Additionally, the sidewalk that will be built on the east side of the property will fill the gap that exists between Behringer Commons to the north of the Aldi property to the south. Finally, the proposed medical clinic is in a good location to serve Urbana residents and the people that live in the surrounding communities. And of course, this has been kind of amended with the amended recommendation to be that it could be much more convenient if it actually went to the intersection. The second criteria for the special use permit, that the proposed use is designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that it will not be unreasonably injurious or detrimental to the district in which it shall be located, or otherwise injurious to the public welfare. The proposed use is designed and located to be convenient and to fill the community need. It will not be injurious or detrimental to the district or the public welfare. The access drive will connect to the existing curb access on High Cross Road, which is the farthest location from the intersection of High Cross Road and University Avenue. This will limit any potential traffic problems of the use. Also, the residential properties adjacent to the site are all separated from the site by either a road or a wall, so that the use should not be detrimental to the nearby residents. In addition, the building will be located near the Aldi store, making it easier to walk between the two. The hours of operation and the number of visitors shall be similar to the Aldi grocery store. The future land use for the area is identified as community business, which calls for development that is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and serves both immediate neighborhood and surrounding communities. The proposed use fits these aims. The third criteria for special use permits, that the proposed use conforms to the applicable regulations and standards of and preserves the essential character of the district in which it shall be located, except where such regulations and standards are modified by section 7-7. Staff finds that the proposal generally conforms to the regulations, standards, and character of the B3 General Business Zoning District. The proposed site plan adheres to all development regulations in the B3 zoning district. I'm going to skip through the staff findings as they're the same as the criteria. I'm going to read Plan Commission's options for both cases. The first option for Plan Commission is for case number 2398-M-20. You have 3 options. 1, recommend approval of the rezoning. 2, recommend approval of the rezoning with conditions. 3, recommend denial of the rezoning. The second case, Plan Case number 2399-SUP-20, Plan Commission has the following options to recommend to City Council. 1, recommend approval of the special use permit to build a medical office at 205 North High Cross Road. 2, recommend approval of the special use permit to build a medical office at 205 North High Cross Road with conditions. And 3, recommend denial of a special use permit to build a medical office at 205 North High Cross Road. Revised staff recommendations. So the original, I mean, based on the evidence presented in the discussion above, and without the benefit of considering additional evidence that may be presented at a public hearing, staff recommends the Plan Commission make a recommendation to City Council to approve the zoning map amendment and special use permit with the following conditions. And the original condition is once up on the screen, that the applicant develops the property in general conformance of the attached site plan, which was Exhibit B, the original staff report. The additional proposed condition is that the applicant works to improve the site connectivity to area grocery stores and the Kickapoo Rail Trail by contributing to a multi-use path to connect the OSF and Aldi sites to the northwest corner of University Avenue and High Cross Road. OSF Healthcare's contributions will not exceed or should not exceed $40,000, which is approximately 30% of the estimated project cost. The staff recommends approval of the rezoning case and special use permit with those following conditions. And that's my staff report. So I'm here for any questions or thoughts. Also to the applicant, has numerous people on this phone call at this meeting. So if you have any questions for the applicant, feel free.
Thank you, Ms. Wilcox. Well, now, does Plan Commission have any questions for Ms. Wilcox? And I need to try to maximize this so I can see all of you. Lily, could you stop sharing?
I can, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So as before, I think it worked out pretty well. As I can see, your mics are muted, and if you want to speak, unmute. Dustin, or raise your hand. Yeah, you can do that, especially if you're on webcam. Mr. Ulrich.
Hi, thanks, Lily. A couple questions for you. So I think you might have mentioned this, but the applicant has not agreed to the condition for sharing the cost of connecting the sidewalk to the intersection. Is that correct?
The applicant's still considering this condition. It's all come up pretty fast, but they're considering the condition and talking to Aldi so that we haven't got a for or against.
Well, maybe we can address that a little bit after questions.
Sorry, I lost you on the last bit of that. Can you repeat that?
Yeah,
I said we could ask the. Go. You lost me or you lost Lily?
Lily.
Okay, go ahead.
We haven't received a recommendation for or against. I mean, a opinion for or against the recommended condition.
Okay. Okay, I'll leave that. That'll be it for now. Thanks.
Okay, any further questions? Ms. Billman?
Yeah, I have a question on one of the exhibits. It's not labeled with a number. It looks like it's after Exhibit C, though. And is that a topographical map?
Does it look
Oh, that, yeah.
kind of like this? Wait, well,
It's dark.
yeah, it's dark and it's got.
You can share again for a second if you need to.
Yeah. Let me share my screen and to confirm. Thanks for bearing with me for a second. Is this what you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
Um,
So this is after Exhibit C.
Well, it might be, but
There's
mine
also-
picks up the whole, mine does, oh, go back. No, go back. Yes. I have that one, but I also have another one that looks like it has topographical lines.
Could you show what you're looking at against your camera, and then everyone will be able to see what you're talking about?
You know what? I think what happened is when you printed it, your printer sized it so it didn't fit it to the piece of paper. And
Okay.
so this is, yeah, so this is actually a much more blown up site plan as opposed to an 8.5 by 11.
Okay.
Okay. Here we are. Any other questions for Ms. Wilcock? Mr. Ulrich?
Yeah, I have another question if no one else has a question.
I will, but go ahead.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the logic of conditions on special use permits, just generally, not necessarily the specific logic for this condition, but.
Yeah, so the special use permit process and the criteria are supposed to ensure that the special use could be okay, but it's deemed that it is appropriate with the zoning district that it's in, and that it's conducive to the public and the convenience of the public. And so the conditions presented, ensuring the site plan, for instance, is a really pretty common one. This recommended condition is one that we'd hope to have OSF agree that this is a good need, and it would be one that is within the mission of OSF. Per the presentation that I showed you, that was all from a plan that they're a partner on with Carl, the Public Health District, and United Way. And so it would make it more convenient, and it would make it more conducive to the public. It's been something that we as staff have had complaints about. It's and that we've noticed, but it's also really something that we haven't had the opportunity to address due to funding. And so as the city, we'd like to apply for a grant for this. And if we do receive a grant, we go ahead with this project, we'd like to ask OSF to contribute to this this path and be, as it is, a part of their mission as an organization.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Markowitz, you're the who are you? I'll bring you in. We're asking some questions here now, city staff, and we'll give you a chance to address the commission in just a bit.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I have a couple pertaining to the special use as well. The first is if the special use addition of the $40,000 contribution from OSF were to be passed and approved by the city council, who would pay the remaining 80?
So that would be covered by the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program grant. And again, that's not guaranteed. That's something that the city would like to go for. And if that went forward and we did obtain the rest of that funding, that we would be doing it with OSF right by our side.
And if you didn't get the grant, then
we wouldn't be
nothing would
collecting
happen.
$40,000. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Just want to make that clear. And second of all, it's kind of a technical question. Do the conditions apply to the zoning, which would seem odd, or to the special use?
This is a special
Well,
use permit.
That's what yeah, okay. Just clarifying that because probably when we discuss it and vote, we'll break them at least in terms of, because the rezone is just kind of a yes or no. And then would conceivably stick with the property regardless of the special use. And it would open up all the permitted uses and all of that. So those are the two questions I had at this time. Anybody else have questions for Ms. Wilcock? Okay, in that case, thank you very much. And now I will explain the rules for a public hearing. We've heard a staff report. We've asked a few questions. Now we're going to open it up for the petitioner to, I guess the petitioner or the OSF or other interested parties who are in favor of the rezoning. And you can also speak to the special use if you're not sure about that. But if you want to address the Plan Commission now, we'll have that. So Mr. Markowitz or Mr. Tratt?
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Tony Tratt. I'm the manager of OSF Real Estate Services here for the ministry. And on the line, we've got a few folks that have just joined us this evening because we feel that it is very important for us to express our interest in this location. We have Dr. Jared Rogers, who is the president of our hospital in Champaign and Danville. Chris Manson is the vice president of governmental affairs. We also have Kristen Crawford, who is a strategic ambulatory development manager, and Josh Markevich is our real estate representative in town. Very grateful. Thank you to Lily and thank you to Kevin for the time that you've been able to give us throughout this process here in the last couple of months. It's been goofy, and then now we're dealing with this virus, which has even made our meetings even more difficult. But we are grateful that we have this opportunity. I wanted to bring everybody on board because everyone represents a portion of our ministry that can help explain why we believe that this is a good move for our ministry and a good benefit for the community. Dr. Rogers, of course, can speak to the ministry as a whole. Kristen can give us details about the property itself. These are not one-offs. We have spent many years working on building a template for these medical office buildings. OSF has an internal standard that we like to use to make sure that the materials are proper, that even the flow of traffic works well within our facilities, so we don't have jams with people, and it works out well. Every year we work with new designers and construction folks to make sure that our patients are served properly. That being said, we're requesting this because our ministry, as you may know, we took over. We had the opportunity to purchase the hospital in Champaign late January 2018. For us, that wasn't a decision just to purchase and use it as a business benefit. It was for us to be able to reach out and connect to our partners in the area, our community, and especially our patients in the area. And in doing so, we feel the need that we would have a great want to express or expand our approach, our reach in the area. As you know, we are also in Danville, and for many years we're in the St. Joseph area as well. So we feel that the east side of the town is a great ability for us to reach those folks. So that being said, that's why we're here. We're requesting your help with this. Regarding the special zoning, OSF has always been ministry-based, and ministry really means the community-based. Our administration is very aware of the Kickapoo Trail. Our administration is also very aware of the great good that it would do for the community. As Lily mentioned, though, we have, as this process has moved on, we get information rather quickly, and we try to act as quickly as we can. OSF is a big bear. We act unfortunately, we react in a glacial pace. So we have taken this information into consideration, and I can say that there is positive reviews all around. We are not in a position tonight to be able to say yay or nay, but I'm definitely in a position to say that we have a lot of great information that we're trying to push into our administration to see if that is something that we can do. Unfortunately for us, obviously, it is a rather difficult time in our ministry financially, since most of our services have been shut down, and not just us. Of course, we're aware that that's the way it is community-wide, but Lily has had great conversations with us with and one of the questions is the possibility of maybe even expanding our help out to maybe Aldi's, maybe even Walmart, in a way of saying, if we all come together for the greater community, maybe there is a way to kind of guarantee that we can get this walkway attached to the Kickapoo Trail. So that being said, I'm open for questions. I also, again, we have our entire staff here to answer anything that we can for you. If there's anything we can answer, or if you need some more information from us, please let us know. We're here for you. Please tell me that wasn't on mute that entire time, was it?
No, but I was.
No, I
Well,
you did a nice job, Tony.
yeah, thank you very much. Now, are there any questions from plan commissioners for Mr. Trad at this time? Mr. Mankiewicz, sorry for mispronouncing your name. You wanted to address us, so please.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry for inadvertently trying to jump in earlier. You know, it's doing this over Zoom's maybe a little bit different. So, and Tony certainly touched on it and did a great kind of overview of everything that OSF's trying to accomplish, and mentioned it at the end. And it partly was a question for Lily, if, since you did mention that people have come to the city in the past about the challenges with crossing that intersection, I was just curious if the city has had any conversations in the past or preliminary discussions with, you know, Aldi, for example, or Walmart, who you specifically mentioned, or maybe Behringer Commons developer. Just curious on if those questions have been asked or conversations, as you know, as it relates to all of this.
So
Mr.
there's
Garcia or
been,
Ms. Falcone?
yeah, and that's a really, really good question. There's been quite a bit of staff turnover the past 10 years, and that's when about 10 years ago is when staff initially drew up some of these plans upon receiving complaints about trying to access this area through transit and for people with different abilities. But I don't have any communication. I don't know of any communications to Walmart or Aldi's about this. But that's something that we're completely committed to talking to them about too as well. We're kind of hoping to talk to you about your community health and tying that in a little bit, but that is also something that if Walmart and Aldi are committed to providing health and fresh food, that we will be making that ask as well.
Thank you. Does anyone else from OSF wish to address the Plan Commission? No? Okay. Well, any further questions for OSF? Well, thank you very much. And now, following our procedures, we will give anyone on the call who's opposed to the proposal a chance to speak. Then we'll give OSF a chance to respond to that if they desire. Then we'll close the public input portion of the hearing and discuss and possibly vote. So is there anyone on here who's opposed to the proposal, either the rezone or the special use permit? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'll close the public input portion of the hearing now, and we'll go into discussion. Any discussion from plan commissioners? And again, if you either raise your hand or unmute, then I can call on you. Ms. Billman.
Tyler, I can't see you.
I think, yeah, I know. I got a webcam today and I haven't installed it yet.
Okay.
And I also haven't shaved in 5 days. So. But literally, so you can just see my name. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
So if no one else has comments.
Oh, Lou? Okay. Yeah.
Did Jane want to speak? I couldn't tell.
I can
I
wait.
think she just, oh, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hopkins.
So the, I guess two things. One's for the record, and that is we need to remember that when we make the rezoning decision, we are making a rezoning decision that survives independent of whether the special use is ever acted upon. And I'm not suggesting that at this point I'm concerned about that. I'm only concerned that we not forget that fact. Now, the second thing is about the additional proposed condition. And I am uncomfortable with this in its current form for two reasons. One is a legal precedent. By putting this in the current wording in a special use permit, we are making the special use contingent on this without being clear what the, I'm trying to come up with a word. I think the word is critical nexus from a legal point of view.
Rational nexus.
Pardon?
Rational nexus, I think.
Okay. Thank you, Dustin. But you know what I'm talking about. That especially if this is being placed only on OSF, I think it would be difficult to sustain legally if it were challenged. I'm not particularly worried about OSF challenging it legally, but I am a little bit concerned that we would be setting up an example of something that we actually shouldn't be doing. So my suggestion is that we might try rewording this to be an invitation to collaborate with the city and other parties in trying to achieve this end. And that is pretty vague and non-committal, I realize, but that's the point. I think that the way we persuade OSF to participate, and as Lily was suggesting, maybe persuade Aldi and Walmart to participate, is by the interest in the achievement of this, rather than as a legal commitment. So that's my reaction to this.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Ms. Billman.
Lou took care of it.
Anybody else have anything to add? Mr. Allred.
Yeah, I would second, and this is why I was asking Lily to clarify how conditions are used in the context of special use permits. I think we would be putting the city potentially in legal jeopardy. Again, not to say that OSF would challenge it necessarily, but just in terms of precedence. I think of conditions as being something that are applied as a way to mitigate the impact from the proposed use, and I don't know that necessarily. I don't know that there's a rational nexus, so to speak, between what's being asked in this case or what's being required in terms of what would be a regulation for the special use permit and the impact that the project would be generating. So I agree with Lou, and I like the idea of making this or wording this in a way that suggests more of a collaboration to achieve something that is a goal of both OSF and the community, and then potentially bring in other properties that are adjacent and would also benefit from something like this.
Thank you. Any further commentary from commissioners? I will say that I agree with both points. That the reason I asked about what the condition applied to is because I don't think you can condition the zoning. If we rezone it, it's rezoned. And all the uses that are permitted in that district are permitted. The special use stands alone and is a different question. I agree that asking OSF to contribute a loan doesn't make sense to me. And whatever rational nexus is, I agree with that too. But my only question there was, do we need to actually put language into a condition, or does the fact that, as we've done before, we've brought it into the record? I'm okay if we put a condition on there, but it's really just an invitation, as Mr. Hopkins said, rather than a condition. So I don't have any doubt that if city staff leads the way and serves as a coordinator, that a discussion can be had. And I think the idea of putting the path all the way through is a great one, but I'm not prepared to ask OSF to go that alone. So that's where I'm at. Now, a question is for the group and for city staff, since the zoning and the special use are two different things, and the only reason we're rezoning this is so that the special use can be accomplished and OSF can build the medical facility, do we go ahead and consider the zoning, or do we continue and hope that some solution to the path is found? Or do we approve the special use with the original condition and not the additional requirement of completing the path across to university? So I'm just throwing that out there. Any thoughts?
Oh, I think that we could probably do it either way. Absolutely, the zoning should be not conditioned. How we word, or how you word a motion should reflect that. But then with the special use, we can either put in text, like and change it so that it is much more of an invitation to work with the city.
City and surrounding partners, yes.
And surrounding partners, absolutely. Or you could not have the second recommendation.
I don't know, any plan commissioners have thoughts on that? Mr. Allred?
I like the idea of rewording it. The idea is out there at this point, and there seems to be interest on the part of the petitioner. So I think it's unnecessary to drop it entirely. But if we can reword it in a way that makes it more of an invitation to collaborate, I think that might be better.
Okay, do we want to work on language, or just give instructions that we approve it with the first condition of the site plan will conform, and direct city staff to draw up language to collaborate with OSF and other businesses and property owners in the area to develop a joint plan to solve the sidewalk problem across to university, something like that? Mr. Allred?
This, I guess, would be a question for Lily. So if it's not a condition, does it make sense for us to include something like that in the approval of the special use permit?
I think I think what Tyler just suggested was have a amended condition.
Right, but we're not suggesting, we're not applying the condition, because the condition would imply that something needs to be met or something needs to happen for the approval.
The condition is that, yeah. My condition, the way I was trying to word it, is we're directing city staff to take the lead and try to coordinate a solution, not directing OSF or as the petitioner are not required to do anything. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
Can we condition? It doesn't make sense to me to condition the city, but I guess the city can answer that question.
Yeah, it's unorthodox.
I think it makes more sense to condition the applicant, but I do agree that something more aspirational is, I think that would be in order. I have some potential language written up if anybody wants to hear it. It is in the vein of the writing that I ask our planners not to write in because it's wishy-washy and non-committal. But I think that would probably be what's in order in this case.
Okay, read it.
Okay. So it says, so the condition would be that the applicant works with the city, surrounding businesses and property owners to explore the possibility of contributing financially to the construction of a multi-use path to connect the OSF and Aldi sites to the northwest corner of University Avenue and High Cross Road.
Sounds about right. Any thoughts on that?
I could share my screen as well.
I think that sounds good.
Mr. Hopkins?
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to read it carefully.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
probably make it big too so that I can barely read that.
There you go. I think that meets the innocuous criterion.
Well, thank you, Lou.
Yeah. I'm good with it. So any further discussion or are we ready to move into motions? And can you, I guess you'll read the roll when we get there, because when you share, I can't see everybody, so it makes it kind of hard to manage.
Yeah, I mean, I can stop if everybody's, if
Have you
people
read it?
want to see it again. If people want to see it again, I can pull it back up. Or maybe, I don't know, that probably won't work. Okay.
Well, we'll get better at this.
Does that shrink it on your side too?
No. Well, yes, but
I'm trying to learn. Okay, I'll just stop sharing right now. Oh, I can pause the share. Let me just pause. Can you see everybody now?
no.
I'm gonna stop the share.
Oh, there it is.
There it
There
is.
is a way you can move your sharing screen, but each individual has to do it. You can move your sharing screen to the left a little bit and then click on the gallery field. Then you can see pretty much everyone on the call. I was able.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I've got it on gallery, but it was like minimized. So the object is that move the share out of the way, basically.
Yeah, move it to smaller, how much you want to see it.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. Any further discussion, or are we ready for a motion of any kind? First on the, let's do it backwards and vote on a special use permit first. Because I think Mr. Garcia doesn't like that idea, and I don't either, but I'm afraid that in this case, since the purpose of the rezoning is to enable the use through the special use process, we'll do it in that order.
So since the ultimate arbiter of this is city council, I think that's fine. And that, I guess, would send some signal to them that the special use was considered first. I think when it gets to council, they're going to need to consider the rezoning first, since you can't grant a special use permit under the current zoning. So
Correct.
Timeline wise, it would need to go rezoning special
Correct.
use. But I think here, I think here it's okay because it's not a final decision.
Ms. Bilden, you?
Yeah, that's actually the way I would have preferred it, that it happen on the rezoning of the new apartments at the southeast corner of University and Lincoln. Do you remember, if you remember that?
Yeah.
I would have, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're doing it backwards, though, I think, is Mr. Garcia's point.
That's what I meant. I
Right.
would have done it backwards then too.
Mr. Allred?
Yeah, I mean that's fine as a process, but I'm not sure we should move forward if we're not in general comfortable with the idea of rezoning this parcel from B1 to B3.
I agree with that as well.
Because there's the potential at some point in the future for this to have whatever list of uses are allowed in B3 on that parcel.
Absolutely. I think I was on the plan commission when we did Aldi, and there was a lot of consideration at that time and a lot of debate about whether neighborhood business or general business was appropriate, and ultimately it came down to neighborhood business. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I don't feel that comfortable with general business because of having gone through that discussion. Ms. Yu?
Can you give us, so currently the Aldi parcel is B1, and then does the Aldi business follow into the B1 category? Or I just do not follow that. I feel like, just from my personal perspective, talking about impact of a site, I would think a grocery store have a bigger impact than a medical office. So why is a grocery store in B1 zoning district, and why we will have concerns about raise it to B3? Because just overall, that Aldi use is very intense as well.
Mr. Allred, in a minute, I don't know if city staff could address that. I can't really answer that question as to why a grocery store, not a medical center, but maybe city staff can.
Yeah, I can. I think you're completely correct, and I would feel very similarly if I was in your shoes about a grocery store being a bigger impact than, say, a medical office, and why a grocery store would be B1. A grocery store is allowed to be in B1 with a special use permit if it's over 3,500 square feet. That Aldi did apply for a special use permit, and it did go through this process. And so that's where you kind of get back to that criteria where it might be okay if, but it needs a bigger consideration than just a by right development. So that's how the Aldi and B1 came to be. Now for this site though, if you don't rezone the property to B3, you can't really ask for a special use permit for a medical office. So that's just an interesting quirk about our zoning ordinance.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on that, Mr. Allred? I think you had your hand up.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, Ms. Billen?
I'm reading one of my concerns is the maximum height of the building. And I'm confused about Exhibit F, where on one place it says maximum height in feet, and it says none. Is that correct?
That is correct. Instead, there is a 4.0 FAR. I think in OSF can correct me if I'm wrong, they're proposing a one-story building there.
But that doesn't matter, what they're proposing.
Yeah,
For
that's
the
right.
rezoning, you're correct. But for the special use permit, they're tied to a site plan.
I don't know how big the lot is. I don't know approximately how big a special use site a building could be there. It's not that big a lot. Two, 3 stories, maybe.
I'm sorry, this is Tony Tratt. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to jump in during this portion of the discussion. I can give you a little detail about the property itself, if that would help.
Sure.
Okay, I'm
Thank
sorry for run up to your conversation there. The property itself is 2.2 acres. The facility is a one-story facility. It is just has a rather longer or higher pitch just for the aesthetics of the facility, but it is all done on one main floor.
Great. Thank you for the details.
I apologize. Thanks.
But
Ms. Billman.
my concern is, though, just as Lou mentioned before, if we rezone it to R3 and then it's R3 and anybody could build something different. For instance, if OSF decides not to build it or it's burned or whatever, it would still be in the B3. Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
So I just think we have to consider, is B3 going to be okay for any development there?
Yes. Anything further on the zoning question in line with Ms. Billman? Mr. Allred?
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, I think that is the crux of the rezoning question, is that we need to think about not just the uses, but also the development standards for whatever would potentially be built there. I think there is precedence in the city, obviously, for B3 development. Not my dog. B3 development next to single-family residential. I think on Philo and Windsor, maybe there's something similar. So it's something that has been done in other parts of the city, and I don't know that the impact has been negative necessarily.
Ms. Billman?
I would have liked to have heard from some of the neighbors, but I assume since we didn't hear from them, there wasn't an objection from them.
Okay, further discussion? I guess in light of that question, let's do it the right way and vote on that zone first. Since it really is a different question with different dimensions. So I don't know if we're ready to vote for the zoning. If there's more discussion, we can certainly continue. But if we're ready to vote, and if we could get a motion and a second, then we can go ahead with that question. So that was an invitation. It wasn't a requirement.
Too complicated for me.
I can go. So I move to approve plan case number 2398M20, request by OSF Healthcare to rezone 2.2 acre parcel from B1 neighborhood business to B3 general business located at 205 North High Cross Road, Urbana, Illinois.
Great. Motion by Mr. Allred. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Billman. Is there further discussion on the zoning question? Is you?
I'm looking at Exhibit C, trying to figure out what was the zoning type for the Walmart parcel. It's dark purple. I don't know what that is.
That's regional business.
Oh, you're talking about the future land use.
Yes, future land use.
I'm pretty sure that has to be B3. I don't know what else it could be.
So its existing zoning is B3 and its future land use designation, which is Exhibit C, is regional business.
And originally there was going to be a Menards beside it, but I think that won't happen.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Yu. Further discussion on the motion to approve the zoning? In that case, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Mr. Weiskopf?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Yu? Good,
Yes.
thank you.
Got it.
Mr. Allred?
Yes.
Ms. Billman?
Yes.
Mr. Fitch?
Yes.
And Mr. Hopkins?
You're muted, Lou.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. That motion passes. Now we'll turn our attention to the special use. So is there a motion on the special use? We have three options for conditions. We have the original one, which is the site plan. It has to be in conformance. We have the second recommendation regarding the $40,000 from OSF. And then we have a third way, which is the request for participation in a collaborative effort. And Mr. Garcia has written language for that. So if we had a motion, make sure to reference which requirements would be part of the motion. Do we have a motion? We could have further discussion if you wish, but I think we're probably ready to do something.
The problem is somebody has to have the information in front of them to make the motion, and I don't have it.
Oh, okay. I'll make the motion. I move that we send plan case 2399 SU20, request by OSF for a special use permit to build a medical clinic at 205 North High Cross Road in Urbana to the City Council with a recommendation for approval with the additional requirements that, number one, the site plan be substantially followed, and number two, the language developed by Mr. Garcia that encourages OSF to participate in a collaborative effort to solve the sidewalk problem across the culvert.
I'll
So
second
that's the
it.
motion. Mr. Hopkins seconds. Further discussion? Okay. Well, in that case, can we have a roll call, please?
Oh, I'm already unmuted. Okay. Ms. Billman?
Yes.
Mr. Fitch?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Weiskopf?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Yu?
Yes.
And Mr. Allred?
Yes.
Great, that motion passes. And these would go to the City Council. The City Council, are they on Zoom as well? Or are they actually meeting?
They're on Zoom as well.
Awesome. And so what are they Zooming?
They will
For
be
this.
Zooming on the, Lily?
April 27th.
There you go.
April 27th. Excellent. Very well done, Plan Commission. We don't have any new business. Do we have any audience participation? Is there anybody who wants to? SpongeBob is not going to address us. I don't know who SpongeBob is, but he keeps coming and going. Do we have a staff report?
No, there is no staff report.
Okay, no study session. Therefore, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.